Olga Hepnarová was born in Prague in 1951 into a well-off family. Her father, Antonin, worked as a bank employee, and her mother, Anna, was a dentist. Olga was the youngest child in the family. She had an older sister, Eva, born in 1949. Despite her good family, Olga grew up as a difficult child. Moody and quick-tempered, she couldn't and didn't try to get along with her peers at school and didn't listen to her parents, running away from home several times. While other children played and had fun, Olga preferred to ride her bike out of town into nature. There, she could lie on the grass for hours and just stare at the sky. Despite her odd behavior, Olga performed well in school. However, at the age of 13, she attempted suicide by taking sleeping pills. She was saved, but after that, Olga was placed in a children's psychiatric clinic, where she spent about a year with diagnoses of schizophrenia and depressive psychosis. Because of this, she couldn't receive a high school diploma and instead was given a certificate that closed off future educational opportunities for her. But this didn't bother her. Inside, she was already forming a plan to take revenge on her parents and the hostile society around her. Late in the evening of August 6–7, 1970, Olga rode her bike to the village of Zabrody, carrying a bundle of old newspapers and a canister of gasoline. She set fire to her parents' house, where guests and her sister Eva were staying. This time, it ended safely. The people inside woke up and managed to put out the fire. Olga wasn't suspected of arson, and with no culprit found, the case was closed. Later, Olga would explain that she did this to get back at her father, claiming that he spent too much money on renovating and rebuilding the house, ignoring her mother, who wanted to sell it. After school, Olga went to driving school, successfully completed it, and obtained a truck driver's license, which was odd, given her diagnoses. She soon got a job as a truck driver. Her family found her choice strange, as Olga had never shown any interest in cars before. And indeed, she wasn't interested, she needed the truck for something else. On July 10, 1973, Olga intentionally drove a truck into a group of about 25 people waiting for a tram at a stop on Defenders of Peace Street, now Mladá Horáková Street, in Prague. As a result of the tragedy, 3 people died on the spot, 3 more on the same day in the hospital, and 2 others later. 12 people were injured, some of them left disabled. The killing was done cold-bloodedly. When Olga first approached the stop, she saw that there were few people. The tram had just left. So she drove off and waited for more people to gather. Then she steered the truck into the crowd. After this, she calmly turned off the engine and waited for the police to arrive, sitting indifferently in the cab. The police arrested her, but initially, the investigators didn't think she had done it on purpose. They believed that the 23-year-old girl had simply lost control of the heavy vehicle. Olga herself calmly and indifferently explained that she had planned it and that the hit and run was intentional. During the investigation, Olga willingly told law enforcement officers about how she had prepared for the crime and her motives, also mentioning the arson she had committed 3 years earlier. According to her, the killing was revenge on a society that never wanted to understand or accept her. Before the incident, Olga had sent letters to the editors of 2 newspapers explaining that the killing of people was her way of exacting vengeance on society and her family members as well. Due to postal delays, the letters arrived 2 days after Olga's deed. Their content was roughly as follows: "Until I was 13, I grew up in the claws of a good family. I was beaten and tortured, a toy for adults and a victim for schoolchildren. I have nicknames: Shrew, Mummy, Tarzan, Broken Angel, Stoneflower, Sleeping Maiden, Our Pet, etc. My tormentors are ruthless. I am an ugly member of the herd and the black sheep of the family. As far as I can remember, I was a loner. I have no friends and never will. I fall into despair, and as a consequence, escapes. Escapes from school, from home, from life. My verdict is this: I Olga Hepnarová, a victim of your cruelty, sentence you to death by hit and run and declare that my life is worth many others. Acta, non verba. In addition to this, Olga wrote that she was ready to face punishment and also mentioned that she would carry out the hit and run using a bus. Then she corrected her statement, clarifying that her weapon of revenge would be a 706R tanker truck. Initially, Olga didn't plan to use her work vehicle and wanted to hijack a bus or a tanker truck. But for some reason, she couldn't do that, so she simply used her work truck, a regular flatbed. Despite being a civilian, Olga was tried by a tribunal. She was forbidden from communicating with her lawyer, and her documented mental health diagnoses were ignored. She was found mentally competent. In court, Olga showed no remorse and openly stated that she wanted to kill as many people as possible. On April 6, 1974, Olga Hepnarová was sentenced to the highest punishment, death by hanging. The sentence was confirmed by several high courts, including the Supreme Tribunal of the Czechoslovak Socialist Republic. Olga's mother sent a petition for clemency to the head of state, Gustav Husalk, but it was immediately rejected. Moreover, Anna Hepnarová was fined for submitting the petition and was fired from her job. Such was society's outrage at her attempt to save her murderous daughter. Olga Hepnarová was hanged in Prague's Pankroch prison on March 12, 1975. At 6:40 a.m. nothing is known about her final moments. It is only worth noting that Olga Hepnarová made history in her country twice. 1. She became the only female mass murderer in Czechoslovakia. 2. She was also the last woman sentenced to death in her country. Not exactly the best achievements, wouldn't you agree?